Drew, one of us is the last hero of Nostalgaia. We might make it through this Dark Souls kind of inspired game. You're not a Fromsoft fan necessarily. You're not a Dark Souls aficionado. But what was your first impression getting into this? It is a little bit more forgiving.
It is a little bit more forgiving, right? The biggest one came out just not too long ago. It was Elden Ring, and they're like, this is the most accessible game you can get into in this genre. I was like, oh man, I'll give it a shot. Didn't hit with me at all. I get into this one though, Nostalgaia. Dude, the play on words in this game is hilarious. The game is funny. I think that's what's kind of keeping me in it. I think, honestly, I keep pushing back. I keep going for more. And dude, I hate running into a brick wall all the time in games. But this one just has something in it that just keeps pushing me into the game, trying to get through that wall. And I keep, every round I get a little bit further, and I get a little bit further, and I'm like, man. But then I keep going back. It has its hooks, Scott. It has its hooks in me, and I didn't know if it was really going to happen. And this is the one that made it actually work for me. It's funny. There's a comical relief in it, and the whole narrator behind everything. Dude, you are a pixelated stick figure. Basically what's going on is your world is slowly degrading itself back to a pixelated state. You want to go and figure out why this is happening, and then there's certain spots that you can, this is where you're going to really relate to it, Scott, because you are that Dark Souls kind of feeling, and that person, that character who wants to get into these games where I'm just not, right? So I'm learning a lot about the genre at the same time as I'm playing through it, and I'm having a great time because you get to these certain save points, and then it purifies that little area, and I'm like, yo, that's the realistic side of it, where this game is supposed to kind of be when you get to the end of it all. I have not finished the game because it is a brick wall I'm trying to fight through, and I'm just not very good at these games at all. But still, my time in, dude, I'm like 6 hours, 7 hours in. I'm having a blast playing the game. Like, there's just so many moments in here that I'm laughing, and then I'm gaining new gear, I'm upgrading my stuff, and then there's a whole co-op side of it. But before we get to there, Scott, what did you think about this game?
They're very self-aware in all the narration, and then even there's one, I'm trying to think of what it's called in this game, but in Dark Souls it's Firelink Shrine. You descend the hillside and come upon an exact copy of the area in Dark Souls, and that was the point where I started laughing. Because, okay, this is so aware, it knows what it's doing here. It's bringing me through the Dark Souls area, and the entire time it's giving you little quips. You've got this narrator behind this, sometimes giving you good advice, sometimes just kind of making fun of you. It's interesting. No, I like the idea of like you've lost your identity as well. It's a joke on putting yourself in the protagonist's shoes. Now you are completely a blank slate. You are allowed, now it's your opinion. And how fun was it to do that character creator? The character creating tool that had absolutely nothing to be seen.
No, because you're just a pixelated glow stick. Like, that's all you are walking through this world.
What I find is different about this than Dark Souls is it's a little bit more closed concept.
Okay.
Dark Souls, you come across these very large, open, expansive areas, and many of them kind of correlate to each other. Yeah. In this, it's far more spread out. It appears to be more linear, although you can just traverse wherever you want to go.
Yeah.
It's hard to describe. I'm thinking of the cave system that we were running through the other day. And
sure.
There's a lot of dead ends here and there. There's a lot of kind of hidden passageways in the dark, and that sense of wonder and exploration kind of gets at me a little bit more effectively than Dark Souls would, because I have to poke around every little nook and cranny, and I'm a completionist. I will do it.
Yeah, I do wish there was a map, though, at the grand scheme of things, for me personally, just because I'm not a part of this kind of genre usually. But for me, it would have been, okay, I've already been over here, maybe I can take off this way instead. So, but I get the exploration part of it, right? And then to get into co-op, there's two parts of it. I enjoyed the co-op, but the minute you die or I die, it disconnects us both from the game, and then I have to send you an invite, or you have to send me an invite to come back in. I'm like, we are going to do this again, so when we die, why can't we just spawn into the same world? The other side of it too, because I found a blacksmith, and when you spawn into my world, you're like, hey, who's this?
Yeah.
which then started now in your world. So as I found him, it carried over into your save progress, which I thought was really cool. And then the co-op, it worked until one of us died, and then you had to send the invite out again. Found that was just a quality of life issue that for this particular game could have been changed a little bit differently, so that when you die, we just start back at the same little beginning that we normally do, right? Instead of having to send the invite out and wait and get you back in.
I'm really happy with this because it takes a lot of the things that Dark Souls has established and puts a little bit more of a humorous spin on it. It has its own characteristic, its own interesting identity, and I'm a big fan. I give this one an 8.5. I think it's a very solid entry.
Nice, dude. This is kind of my first real entry into the genre, I guess, really kind of sticking with it because I don't normally stick with these games at all. So for me, I'm right there. I'm a little bit lower than you. I'm there with an 8.